Okay, let's start our discussion part. Um, start our discussion that will focus on why study philosophy. Okay, again, philosophy deals with philosophic issues or philosophical issues. And these issues are related to issues of reality, of truth, of values. Those that we have discussed, worldview, can be um, can be explored using those worldview questions. But philosophy is more formal, codified, redefined, deepened, and these shall focus on philosophical issues, issues of reality, issues concerning truth, and issues concerning what is of value. Let's take note that we all have beliefs about those philosophic issues. These are philosophic issues here, and we have our own beliefs about the philosophic issues of reality, of truth, of values. We all deal with philosophic issues. Without our philosophic position on these three categories, if we don't have a philosophic position, if we don't have a belief on these philosophic issues of reality, truth, and value, we cannot make decisions. If we don't understand clearly reality, what is truth, what is of value, their philosophic positions, all right? Because each philosophy is a philosophic position. Its philosophy is a philosophic stand on what is reality, on what is truth, and what is of value. And if we don't have one philosophic position, we cannot make good decisions. We cannot make goals. We cannot make relevant decisions, meaningful decisions in life because we don't have philosophic stand, a philosophic position associated with all these three categories of philosophic issues: reality, truth, and value. So having a chosen philosophic position or having a chosen philosophy, we can set goals and life's purposes. We can achieve courses of actions to reach our goals. So it's important that we have a philosophy, a personal philosophy. And if we are in a school setting, it's important that the school has a philosophic position, has a philosophy, and then because it can guide setting goals, purposes of individual teachers, of the whole school, the whole university for that matter. And because of that philosophic position, the school and the person, if you will consider person, can achieve courses of actions to reach those goals. So we deal with philosophic issues. Again, without philosophic position, our life will be aimless. Without philosophic position, we cannot make decision. Our life will be aimless life. Or if we don't have a philosophic position, we can just depend on others. Whatever others will say, whatever one person will say, we will just follow without reasoning, without having our own decisions because we don't have a philosophic position. Why establish Adventist Christian education? Basic question, just to insert this question. So, with that discussion on philosophic stand and philosophic position, we can ask the question now, why establish Adventist Christian education? The answer is, we have the Adventist Christian philosophy of education. Why establish a Christian Adventist education? Why are we establishing schools? Why are we establishing Adventist schools, Christian schools? The answer is because we have the Adventist Christian philosophy of education. And this Adventist Christian philosophy of education are is the inside this are the underlying ideas, are the underlying foundational understandings of what is reality, what is truth, and what is of value. Okay? So, why are there different systems of education? Similar to in addition to the question, the basic question, why establish Adventist Christian education? Yes, we have the Adventist Christian philosophy of education. If the question is, why are there different systems of education? System of this group, system of that group, system of this group. Why is another school? Why are so many schools mushrooming around the world? The answer? Because there are differing philosophies of education. One follows perennialism, one follows essentialism, one probably follows realism, idealism, etc., etc. Philosophy deals with most basic life issues: nature of reality, as we said, truth, and value. Philosophy deals with most basic, let's emphasize this, with the most basic issues faced by humans. And the content of philosophy is not about more on just an enumeration of content. It is asking right questions. In philosophy, we are asking right questions. It is not only questions. These are most basic life's issues. And these are questions. These are right questions because they pertain to the most basic life issues faced by humans. They are not ordinary questions. They are not just superficial questions. They are deep questions. And philosophers have termed this, have conceptualized this to be right questions because these questions are meaningful questions. These are relevant questions. And, and these questions relate to the most basic issues of life faced by humans. That's why they are called right questions. And right, we mean meaningful questions, relevant questions to the basic issues of human life. And the answers of to these questions will make a difference how your life, how my life shall be lived. So, because of philosophy, because of these right questions, because of these meaningful, relevant questions, associated with the most basic life issues faced by everyone, you and me. This is philosophy then. Answers. Because of those questions, we have philosophy. And philosophy answers to these questions, and the answers will make a difference in your life, in my life, the life that we should be living every day, today, and tomorrow. And there are three content categories. And these are relevant questions. First category, questions concerning the nature of reality. And the technical term is metaphysics. Second category, questions concerning the nature of truth and knowledge. This is knowledge attainment. Questions concerning how truth is attained, how knowledge is attained, how we evaluate the sources of these truth and knowledge, evaluation of these truth and knowledge. This is technically called epistemology. Questions concerning value. What is of value? What is good? Okay, we will study later on subcategories of these. So, axiology. And we cannot escape from these questions. Questions in each category are always confronting us every day. What is reality? What is truth? Knowledge. And we educators, when we are in school, when we are in education, we always grapple with truth and knowledge, realities of life. That's what we teach in schools. What is of value? What is valuable that our students can take with them so that they will leave our classrooms having a meaningful life, making a difference in the lives of young people, in the lives of students. And we cannot escape from these questions. We cannot escape from these questions. So without clear understandings to these questions, if we don't have clear understandings to these questions, we wander. We wander through life aimlessly and with ignorance as to what shapes our decisions. We don't have a we don't have we don't have a guide. We don't have a position. We don't have any direction that can shape our decisions, actions, our choices, our decisions. Without clear answers to these questions concerning reality, truth, knowledge, value. Okay, so let's take a look at the first category now. It's metaphysics. When you say meta, we say beyond physics. This is not just reality that we say what is real, we see around. No, this is ultimate reality beyond what the physical world offers. So it's ultimate reality. It's beyond the physical world. All right? And because metaphysics explores questions beyond what we see around. Remember, here is a worldview that says naturalism. Naturalism is not it appears to be not beyond physics, metaphysics. Look at that, okay? So, natural world. I'm just giving you some relationships with that worldview, beginning worldview, and metaphysical questions are in these categories. We have cosmological questions, we have theological questions, we have anthropological questions, and ontological questions. So these are the metaphysical questions. So let's try to take a look at the cosmological aspect. Theories about origin of the universe. Imagine that question. What is the origin of the universe? It's not talking about the earth that we are living in. It's beyond what we it's beyond this place we are living in. Universe, beyond the galaxies, beyond the many galaxies out there. Ultimate reality, beyond physics. Theories, assumptions, presuppositions, beliefs about origin of the universe, origin then of nature and develop of the orderly universe, the system of the universe, which our physical reality, the world, the physical world that we are living in, cannot probably answer. Beyond cosmological aspect, maybe the questions would involve: is the design of the universe of accident? Is it an accident that there is a design? Or is there a purpose of the existence of the universe? Right? Who can answer that question? The physical world? Probably not. Beyond the, the physical world, ultimate reality. And what about theological aspect? Conceptions of and about God. And that's a theological aspect, part of metaphysics, beyond physics. It talks about conceptions of God and about God. The questions are, is there a God? What are the attributes of God? What are the attributes of God? What is the power of God? Why is there existence of evil? All right, these questions. Is there a relationship? What is the relationship between God and humanity? Here's a God up there. Does he relate to humans here in the physical world, in this physical world, in this earth? What is the daily life of God in relationship with his creation, the human beings and other created things around, or other created beings in the universe? See, that's concept of a concept of God, and it's a theological aspect. That's why if you study theology, if you are in theology, you are in this field. It's part of the metaphysics. It's part of philosophy, because you are understanding conceptions of God and about his nature and how he deals with his creation, right? And the universe. What about the various answers to these questions, theological questions? There are various answers. Atheism will say there is no God. That's the claim of atheism. The pantheist will claim God and the universe are identical. The universe and God are one. Now that's, yeah, all is God and God is all. That's why I said earlier, they respect, they worship other beings because they say God, all nature, all, everything is God. All is God. God is all. Deists. The deist view, God is the maker of nature and its moral laws. God exists apart from humans and the physical world, and it's not interested in man's daily life. The deists would say. Okay? So these are answers, these are theological answers to these questions. Theists, remember, we discussed the deists, says, oh, here's a God. He just made the world and nature as moral laws, but he exists apart from humans. He does not involve. He's not interested in the daily activities of man. That's the deists' philosophical view. Okay? What about the theists? Theism. We have a personal God. And theism can be divided into two systems. We have polytheism, many gods. Here's only monotheism, only one God. So there are also others who believe in polytheism. Also others believe in monotheism. Right? So other Christians believe they are Christians, but they have many gods. Okay? Seventh-day Adventists believe in only one God, monotheism. Anthropological aspect, study of human beings. Right? Here's an anthropological aspect. It's a study of human beings, but it's beyond the physical study of the human beings because it's mind and body relationship, the moral status of man, good, evil, whether the person is good or evil, amoral or neutral. Talking about the aspects of man in terms of freedom, free will. What determines the actions of people? That's the anthropological aspect of metaphys of metaphysics. Anthropological aspect in metaphysics. It's not studying the anatomy or basically the physical, but beyond that, relationship between body and mind, the moral status of man, goodness, his evil, whether he's amoral, moral, immoral, or neutral. Some of those discussions, these are philosophical discussions, talking about freedom, extent of freedom, how free a person is, free will. Those concepts, philosophers in this area study those concepts. So, anthropology answers to and the answers to anthropological questions will influence. Okay, The answers to anthropological um, issues or questions will influence ideals and practices in the areas of politics, society and sociology, religious aspects of life. All right? So these views, these belief systems, these assumptions, presuppositions, this formalized understanding, explanation to these answers will influence the practices, the ideals of a society, political ideals of a society, the religious aspects of life of a person or a group of people. All right? So the Seventh day Adventists, Christians, have an anthropological understanding. Okay? We will study in the near future. Ontological aspect, the nature of existence. Okay, that's the last in metaphysics. What it means for me or you or of anything to exist. Why am I existing? Why are you existing? Okay, you can have an answer to that question. Is anything's existence fixed or stable? Is your existence, my existence stable? Is your reality, my reality in the level of energy or spirit or spiritual energy or a combination of spirit and matter? Oh, Aristotle, Plato had a very, very uh, difficult and challenging answer to this question in his book Republic. Is your and my reality friendly or not to us? All right, so these are some ontological questions. Okay, ultimate reality. It's not only are you real or not. No, no, no. What it means to be real, what it means to exist. Is there anything, an existence that is fixed or stable? Is it stable or fixed? How do you answer that? To the Bible believing Christians, this is well answered. There is an answer to this question. Epistemology. Let's go to the second. So we finished with metaphysics. Metaphysics, we have cosmological aspect, we have theological aspect in their subcategories. We have anthropological aspect, and we have the ontological aspect, ontology. Let's go to the second category, and that is epistemology. What is true? How do we know that it is true? So the focus of epistemology will be dependability of knowledge. Can we depend on knowledge? How can we depend on this knowledge? And the answer to that will be, what is the source of this knowledge that we can depend on this knowledge? So it talks about the validity of sources of knowledge, of sources of truth. Issue number one, can we know reality? Okay, can we know reality? That's one. The skeptics, the answer of the skeptics, skepticism, the claim that we cannot know reality. We don't have reliable knowledge. The skeptics will say, oh, we cannot do that. No, we cannot know reality. It's impossible. The search for truth isn't possible, meaning we can't, it's impossible to search for the truth. Skepticism. In Paul's time in the Bible, he had to deal with skeptics because they did not believe in God, right? Can we know reality? The answer is, here's a cousin of skepticism, agnosticism. They profess that God does not exist, no knowledge about God at all. Remember this. Where is this found? Naturalism. So if somebody if you'll meet somebody and he says no God, no, the God does not exist naturally, that person is agnostic. Agnosticism. claims to have the beliefs of agnosticism. Okay? And, of course, has a cousin, skepticism. Issue number 2. Are all or some truth relative or absolute? When you say relative, there's no absolute truth. Truth changes. It's easy to change truth. Truth can be changed. There is changeable truth. Truth can be changed. Can truth be changed? Truth, subjective or objective, dependent on human experience. Oh, it's true to me and it's not true to you. It's maybe true to you but not true to me. So this is relative truth, and that's the issue. There are some issues, and that's part of epistemology, the issues associated with those questions. And the major aspect of epistemology, so these are the issues that epistemology grapples. Basic issues: truth, can it be changed, can it be subjective or objective truth, is there absolute? This is the debate, okay, as far as truth is concerned. And what are the major aspect of epistemology? The major aspect of epistemology is sources of human knowledge. The source, what's our source of what we know? Source of what we know. From university truth to knowledge. How this happens? Okay, I think there's an error here. I just changed from universal truth to human knowledge. Universal truth. Okay, here's the universal truth. Truth accepted by everyone, and truth to human knowledge. How this happens? How does this happen? When there's a universal truth, and how is that shared to every human being? All right. So that is part of epistemological concept. Here's a truth that is universal. It's coming from a universal point of view, and this has reached human beings. How did this happen? How did human beings, how do we validate? How do we validate truth? Most of people's answer to epistemological questions are the following. Here's one answer. Empiricism, knowledge constructed through sensory processes. So sensory knowing. So here is the source of knowledge. Here is the source of truth. It's true, it's knowledge because of sensory knowing, because of sensory process. I can feel it, I can see it, I can feel it, I can touch it, I can hear it, I can step on it. Because of the existence of sensory information, sensory data, we have knowledge. That's one answer, and that is empiricism. And that's the flow of the thinking of the scientific science. We have to observe, we have to have data, we have to have all these that we can see, we can observe. If not, this is not valid. Okay, valid knowledge. And we should be careful with those also. So these are the sources, right? All right. So what is source number 1? Empiricism. And it is extended by using scientific instruments. And that's the reason why we have science, because science will say, this is knowledge. After science has done research and experimentation, they say, this is knowledge. Huh? And we have faith that we can depend on sensory mechanisms. And that's what empiricism tells you as part of an answer to those questions of validity of knowledge and truth. So one has to have faith. That's what they claim. If you are into the scientific world, you have to have faith to believe that we can depend on sensory mechanism. We can depend on scientific instruments. And I think that's also one reason why people have to believe in vaccines, because we have faith in what the scientists have done in the laboratory, in the experiments, right? And we say that is knowledge, that's scientific knowledge. And because of that, we have ourselves, we have vaccines. And that's the first answer, empiricism. Okay, that's one source. Second source, revelation. And this spans human history. Over a period of time, here is revelation. Human history has 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 told us that there is somebody here is a God who revealed his knowledge to his people. He is a transcendent supernatural being, and that supernatural being enters into human existence. So here is a supernatural being, here is God. Okay, that's revelation. Here is a God who enters into the sphere, into the level of human existence, and reveals his will, communicated his will, and this communicated will of God is called revelation. The Adventists accepts, believes in this answer to the question, God came to this earth to reveal his love, to reveal his divine will to human beings through the Bible. Okay? Revelation stands for believers. For me who believe in revelation, and this form of knowledge, revelation as a form of knowledge, has omniscient source. The source is a God who knows everything, a God who is knowledgeable, all-knowing. We believe that there's a God, a believer like me, believes in revelation, accepts the fact, knowledge that here is an omniscient God, all-knowing God, who has that absolute truth, and this truth that the Lord reveals, this revelation is uncontaminated. It's not contaminated. It doesn't have error. It is truth. It cannot be proved or disproved empirically. In fact, this revelation of God, the Bible, cannot be disproved by science. Cannot be disproved by science. And this revelation is accepted by faith and can be distorted. But sometimes this revelation of God can be distorted by human interpretation, and that's the danger. And I think that's the reason why you will say, why are there so many denominations? Why are so many Christians? Why are so many Christians? Because there is that human interpretation element that probably is the problem. It's the problem. Okay? Some people would not accept the full revelation of God, only a portion, only a section. And that is because of human interpretation. Number three, source authority, authoritative knowledge from experts, and set apart for such purpose as tradition. So, because of authoritative knowledge, okay, it's one source, authoritative knowledge, people would say, oh, that's expertise. And because that is what the expert says, we can call it a tradition. And that has to be over a period of time. Okay? So, in the classroom, we also have that. We have the tradition that here's a teacher, we have the textbook, here's an expert, we have the textbook, we have a reference work. The problem is if the authoritative knowledge results from incorrect assumptions. And that's the problem. If here is a textbook, if here is a reference work, if it is a teacher who we think as authority, but his authority, his presuppositions, his assumptions are not probably correct. Correct in the sense that if I were a Seventh-day Adventist, because I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, it's not aligned to revelation. It's not aligned to God's holy law and holy will. Number four, reason. Number four, source. First source, we have empiricism. Second source, we have, what is our second source? Revelation. What is the second source? Authority. What's the third? Reason. Can we rely on a reason? And that is rationalism. This uses basically logic, the basic foundation, the basic tool for knowledge and truth is if it can be processed through logic, thought, reasoning, the central factor in knowledge. I have the power to think. I have the power to rationalize. I have the power to provide arguments, logic. That's why there is philosophy of logic, all right, as a course in the university. Humans, because it's the assumption that humans have the power of thought, okay? And the senses, the sensory, the sensory data information are just raw materials for our thinking processes. So we produce logical, rational understanding. Okay, and that's also nice. That's also nice, for as long as our data, our sources of information are aligned with what Revelation has told us. That is the Adventist view. On the mind organize sensations towards meaningful system of information, and we call it logic. Logic. And you took a course logic. I took several courses in logic, and it's fun to do that. Man has power to know. That's the mind. That senses alone cannot advance or provide. So you have to use your logic, and people use that logical approach to truth, right? But all is the work of the mind. Okay, answer number five, a source to validate of knowledge is intuition. This is just direct recognition or apprehensive of truth, apprehension of truth and knowledge resulting from direct recognition and apprehension of truth, okay, of truth and knowledge resulting not from reasoning or direct sense production. It is a sudden insight, sudden conception. This some call this hunches, okay? And hunches are sources of further investigation. Many researchers start all the research projects by intuition, hunch. And so that's one source. There's a hunch, there's intuition, okay? The apprehension, the recognition of truth, and then develops that into further investigation. The danger of intuition is it may lead to some absurd claims if not checked by robust methods. That's why researchers begin with intuition and then they test that through experiments and establish knowledge. Okay? So how do people deal with sources? How do people deal with sources? All the sources we have mentioned. Many others choose any of the sources and use it to test other sources. And what many that's what many use. So intuition, revelation, all those sources to validate knowledge, they use just one of them, just pick one, and then use that to test other sources. I would like to remind you that IAS, Adventist Christian Education, answers this question: how do people deal with sources? How people deal with sources? Biblical Christianity says, believes, presupposes that revelation, God's will, the divine will of God, serves as the basic framework where all other sources and knowledge shall be tested. Okay? That's biblical Christianity. So others do not do that. Others do not do that. Other other systems of validating truth. They don't do that. But biblical Christianity, Adventist education, always places divine revelation, God's word, God's scriptures, as the framework where all sources of all knowledge shall be tested. So, what is the impact upon education? All this philosophy, we deal and are all engaged with knowledge, aren't we? Right? Every day, we all deal with and are engaged with knowledge. It's a daily enterprise in education. Knowledge, truth, okay? And the sources of knowledge are complementary. We know that. We understand that. They complement. We understand that. However, we should understand that even if they are complementary, that should be our approach, a complementary in the sense that one complements another. In the Adventist, this revelation has to be the framework, okay? And some others have to complement. And if it does not complement, then that is not accepted. So the impact of epistemology upon education, we have assumptions about sources of knowledge and truth, and it has an impact. So if we have these assumptions about sources and truth, it has an impact to what we should place inside our curriculum, what we should emphasize in our curriculum, and our assumptions about the sources. What is the source? Are we recognizing science? Are we recognizing revelation? Do they complement or intuition or logic? And because of that, if we understand those clearly, then it will have an influence on our approaches and methods of teaching and learning. All right? Let's go to the third one, axiology. What is a value? Social life is governed by system of values. The social life of the individual, you and me, all right, is governed by a system of values. We call it value system. Usually they are agreed upon, okay? Groups and the universal level all over. Metaphysical questions and epistemological questions, in fact, produce various values systems. Do you agree? Of course, if you understand reality to be this, source of knowledge, so our values must be this. So see, your metaphysical and your epistemological philosophic position will influence your values system. It will guide what value system you will adhere or you will shape or you will accept. Value systems are built on conceptions about what is true and what is reality and what is knowledge. Okay? Questions of values pertains to how society regards what is good, what is preferable, or what is bad. So it is important to education to really study our philosophic position as for axiology, because education is toward the development of values among stakeholders, parents, teachers, principal, leadership, community members. These are the stakeholders of education. And we are towards the development of values. If we have our metaphysical position, if we have already our epistemological position, philosophic position, then we that can guide our axiological position. What are the branches of axiology, I should say? Ethics. Okay, it's the study of moral values and conduct. How should how should me and you behave in a society? And there are ethical theories, and these ethical theories provide the right values as foundations for right actions. Example, isn't it that there is what we call netiquette during technological advancement, right? There's netiquette. In fact, there are laws governing cyber crimes. Why? Because that's part of how society, how you and me should behave, because we believe that the reality is this. See, this is not so. So we share information, you see. So there is that are only correct, that are only for the good of others. So here is a cyber law, all right? So netiquette is part of it. So ethics, that's part of ethics. Okay. Implications to schools and education. The goal is man can make meaningful ethical decisions. Why do we have ethics? So that man can make meaningful ethical decisions. So schools, you have to teach ethical concepts to students. We have to encourage students to be ethical. We have to encourage students to to position themselves with ethics, careful in what they say, careful in how they speak, careful in how they share their ideas. See? And the ethics of a particular society, a particular culture, influence the ethics of persons in that society. So ethical concepts come in various forms depending on fundamental beliefs about reality and truth. You see, our ethical concepts depend on our understanding of what is reality, what is truth, what is knowledge. And Adventist education has a set of values and ethical concepts. We will know that. That's why if you go to IAS, you will have these values, core values of IAS, because that is founded on their concepts of what is real, all the issues, metaphysical, ontological, about God, about, see, and truth. Okay, source of truth, it's God, the source of truth. Issues that we grapple in society, within society, issues that we grapple within society. What are the issues that we grapple within society? Here are the following issues that we grapple. Are ethical standards and moral values absolute or relative? Do universal value systems exist? Can we separate morality from religion? Who shall be considered authority in morality? A person, a guru, or a pastor, or it should be God? See, we have so many answers. People answer that in many questions. What forms the basis of ethical morality? Another section in axiology is aesthetics. So area is one category in axiology is ethics. Another is aesthetics. What is beautiful? What should I or you look like? Or you like? What should I like? What should you like? So, concepts concerning creation and appreciation of beauty and art. So, aesthetic valuation, how do we value beauty? And it's a daily experience that, yeah, we look around, that's beautiful. What is our system? What is our belief about beauty? Why do we appreciate somebody? Why should we not destroy the dignity of somebody? Why should we respect that somebody? Because that person is beautiful. Beautiful because he's handsome, he has a new haircut? No. You have to have you have to have an epistemological position, a metaphysical position to develop such aesthetic aesthetic position, system of understanding and belief. And it soars merely beyond mere intellectual understanding and empirical work. So our understanding of beauty soars beyond, goes beyond just our intellectual understanding or be result of research. No, it has to be beyond. What is beautiful? What should I or you look like? So it's a formation of aesthetic belief system, and it is still founded on our metaphysical and epistemological belief system. All right? So I hope you understand that. So that is axiology. We appreciate beauty, art, everything that we see around. The way we dress is part of that. Why do we dress like this when we go to church? Why do we dress like this why do we use this? Because we have that aesthetic combined with our ethic. ethical belief system, ethical understanding, ethical presuppositions and assumptions. Okay, and this is founded on, it is based on our understanding of reality, our understanding of what is truth and what is knowledge. And let's consider Knight's model. What is Knight's model? We have philosophical determinants, metaphysical beliefs, axiological beliefs, and epistemological beliefs go into the political dynamics of the society. These are the contextual. You have a context where you stay, which society you belong, and these are influenced by social forces, and these are your goals as a person. And if it goes to economic conditions, expectations of the family, okay, and this goes to, and if all of these are clarified, okay, and this is in education, right? You are involved in education, teachers, administrators, leaders, okay, and they shape their goals, collective goals, and modified by political dynamics, social forces, economic conditions, expectations of society, and then they directly influence educational issues, how we deal with students, the role of the teacher, what is emphasized in the curriculum, the methodologies, and social functions of the education, how they relate themselves to society. So this is the relationship uh, between philosophic determinants modified by the context where you and me are offering a system of education, and then into finally how these philosophical determinants can then be influencing educational issues, okay, in a particular educational system. Okay, so I hope that our discussion here has provided you a foundation of how we should understand philosophy in its three major categories. And the next discussion will focus on the major philosophies that answer questions on reality, truth, and value. We have realism, idealism, pragmatism, etc., existentialism, etc., etc. I hope this discussion has provided you at least a clearer understanding of what philosophy is. And I hope the discussion provides you a glimpse of how many have answered some of those basic questions, philosophic issues, and the Adventist, at least beginning understanding of the Adventist philosophic position on some of the philosophic issues. God bless and happy studying, and enjoy your class activities, not only in this class, but in other classes at IAS. God bless you.